How you guys doing? It is Saturday, August 15th, 2020 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to give you guys a preview for the first round of the NBA playoffs. I was going to do it yesterday, but the play-in game wasn't officially scheduled until after I did the show yesterday. So I decided to do it today, and I'm going to get back on schedule as soon as I get back to it. But so far today, there's going to be a 2:30 play-in game on Eastern Standard Time between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Memphis Grizzlies just to see who has a chance of playing against the Lakers in the first round. And with that said, I'm just going to give you a preview by each round of what to expect and how I think the series is going to go. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I mean, I just want to do it because it's fun. So, and I know a lot of you, I know a lot of people are aware that, like, of course, the Western Conference playoffs is going to be a lot deeper. So, of course, I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference matchups. So, with the first matchup, the number 1 seed is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks, and the 8th seed is going to be the Orlando Magic. And of course, I think that both rosters, they're both really, really good rosters. I just think it's going to be very easy for the Bucks to game plan against the Magic, and I don't think the Magic are going to be able to game plan for the Bucks, because even if you take Giannis out, they still have other pieces that can score, and you still can't take Giannis out. I really just said that like it was nothing. I think the Bucks are going to very easily make their way through the Orlando Magic, and I think this is going to be one of those series where you start to see how deep the Bucks are, because I think the Bucks are going to be the team that makes the finals, because I don't think these other teams are really that strong. And the Sixers are kind of injured, and the Nets aren't bringing their players back. So I feel like this year it's definitely the Bucks to lose. It's the Bucks conference to lose this year. But in the first round, I think they're going to make very easy work of the Orlando Magic. So the next matchup, the number 2 seed is the Toronto Raptors, and the number 7 seed are the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, without their best players, don't get me wrong, they're still a very deep team, but they're not messing with Toronto. Kyle Lowry's back, Van Vliet's nice, Siakam's great. They still have Gasol. They still have a lot of really, really good role players. I think this series, if it goes to 5, I think it'll be because, like, Brooklyn won a game they really shouldn't have won. I don't see Brooklyn Toronto making it to 6 games at all. The next matchup is going to be between the 3 seed Boston Celtics and the 6 seed Philadelphia 76ers without Ben Simmons. I'm really curious as to see, like, I wouldn't completely chalk up this series as a win for the Celtics, because if Joel Embiid is still healthy, we can still see what Joel Embiid is capable of doing. There is still an argument that says Joel Embiid is the most dominant center in all of basketball, and this is going to be his opportunity to prove it. So I don't think Joel Embiid is going to let the Sixers just fall like that. If anything, I think this, out of all these series, I think Celtics-Sixers might actually make it to 7 games. Because I have a little bit of faith in that Joel Embiid can get this team around him to work, even if Ben Simmons isn't playing. I think the Celtics take it in 7, but I think the Sixers go to 7 games, and Joel Embiid shows his worth this series. And then the 4th seed are the Pacers, and the 5th seed are the Miami Heat. I like this series, and I think the Pacers have done a really good job in the regular season. I think the Heat are gonna beat them in 6. I think the Heat, they're looking hotter, and as much as I like TJ Warren, I think being matched up against, like, having Jimmy Butler on you for a whole series is not going to be very comfortable. And I feel like TJ Warren could probably do it, but with Jimmy Butler guarding him for a whole series, I don't think the Pacers are going to win this series at all. But the Heat have a lot of options that aren't Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler just plays defense all game, they still have players that can shoot. And I think I have a lot of faith in Miami's bench, especially when players like Duncan Robinson. And, like, I mean, I like what they have. They have Derrick Jones Jr. They still have Tyler Hero, and I wouldn't mess with that Miami roster right now. I think the Heat beat the Pacers in 6 games at the most. I don't even know if it gets that far, but that's the Eastern. So, like, right now, my matchup going into the next round, I would have the Bucks against the Heat for round 2, and then the Raptors Celtics. Now, jumping out to the West, what I think is going to happen. First off, the Trailblazers are going to play the Grizzlies in the play-in game. I personally think that Damian Lillard is not going to let the Trailblazers miss the playoffs this year. Because the Grizzlies are a good team, I just think the Trailblazers are going to beat them and make the playoffs. Just so it kind of adds to the narrative, right? Because the Grizzlies played a great season. I don't think they're going to beat the Trailblazers today. And if they do, that's great for them. But either it doesn't change the fact that whoever wins this game is not even going to make it to a game. They won't make it to a game 6 with the Lakers. If anything, I think the Trailblazers are going to make it through. So I think the next matchup would be the Lakers and the Trailblazers at the 1 and the 8 seed. I still think the Lakers are good. The Lakers will not let it get to game 6. I personally think the Lakers are going to sweep, but knowing Damian Lillard might will the Portland Trailblazers to a big win, just knowing like how good he is and how much he can like really change the dynamic of a game. But it doesn't change the fact that they're still going to get mollywopped by the Lakers. The Lakers still have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, like Dion Waiter. I mean, I'm missing a lot, but it's like they still have all-time greats on their team. Like, I'm not betting against the Lakers in the playoffs. I think they're going to sweep, but if it's the Trailblazers, I'm not going to bet that Damian Lillard can't win one game. Then the next matchup is going to be the Clippers and the Mavericks. And that's a pretty good game. I mean, that's a pretty good series. I like that. Luka Doncic and the Mavericks going up against a very, very strong Clippers team. I think the Clippers still win it pretty heavily. I think they win it pretty easily. I think this series might go to 6 games. It doesn't reach 7. It definitely doesn't reach 7, but I think the Clippers are going to win this game. I think the Mavericks could possibly win 2 games. I personally think it's going to end in 5, but I think this matchup is pretty lopsided. I think the Clippers are going to take this one. And then the 3 seed are the Denver Nuggets, and the 6 seed are the Utah Jazz. As I like this series, the Jazz haven't really been playing that crazy in the bubble. I think the Nuggets are in better shape, and they're like really creative. I think the Jazz, like, I don't know. They do have Rudy Gobert, but I don't think they can stop the depth of the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets take this series too. Yeah, I think the Nuggets beat the Jazz to face off against the Clippers in the next round. If you ask me, I don't think it doesn't make it a game 7, but I think it ends in game 5. I think the Nuggets might sweep the Jazz. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went to 6 games. And then going to the 4 and 5 seeds, I like the Rockets and the Jazz matchup because, I don't know, I guess there's the storyline there. And the Thunder do actually have depth, and Chris Paul's running that offense. And the Rockets have their whole small ball scheme that's actually been working with James Harden and Russell Westbrook still being able to get up there 30. They've been able to find a way in which both of these guys can thrive in Houston. I think the Rockets make it through. I think the top 4 teams in the West are going to make it through to the next round. No offense to the Thunder, the Jazz, the Mavericks, and the Trailblazers, but I think there's a degree of separation between those 4 teams and the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Rockets. But that's what's going on here. I think the first round shouldn't be that. I think the biggest game that we're really going to see is the play-in, and then that's just to see who plays the Lakers. I think these are going to be very fun series to watch. I think the best series in the first round might be the best series to watch might be the Sixers and the Celtics. Don't sleep on that series. But with that said, I want to appreciate you guys for listening to all 9 minutes of this. I mean, if the play-in game, if I get it wrong and the Grizzlies make it through, they're still going to lose to the Lakers. Just take what I said and just insert Grizzlies, except they're just going to get swept in the first round. But I thank you guys once again for hearing me out. Once again, this is The Elite. I'm James Sims. Thanks for hearing my piece. Peace out.